Greetings, everyone. I hope all of you are doing well within your space and time. And if you're not, or you could, use some time to power up, I do suggest coming to the Meta Center and stepping outside of the matrix for a moment. All right. So it gives yourself time to kind of regroup, even if you're there for only 5 minutes. And so I'm not there right now. This is very early morning here in Chicagoland, and this was the best time for me to do this podcast for you. And this podcast is about the upcoming two moons. I know some of you have not heard of this. You're like, two moons? What am I talking about? It's very sci-fi-ish. Supposedly, Earth will temporarily gain a second moon on September 29th. So on September 29th this month, the world will experience another celestial body in the sky that will be with us for approximately 2 to 3 months. Think about that, right? Very sci-fi-ish, right? Some of us have even had dreams as children of a planet with multiple celestial bodies. Isn't that interesting? And so this does have some implications that will affect a lot of people, and you're going to understand why shortly. So this month, Earth will obtain a second moon in the form of a tiny asteroid called 2024 PT5. This new mini moon will stick around for 2 months before it heads back to the asteroid belt, trailing our planet and orbiting the sun. One researcher explained that in order to become a mini moon, an incoming body has to approach Earth at a close range of around 2.8 million miles and slowly at about 2,200 miles per hour. Under these conditions, the geocentric energy can become negative and the object becomes temporarily bound to the Earth. Now, that's the scientific explanation of it. But of course, we're going to go a bit deeper. Just understand this goes way deeper than even what I'm going to talk about here on the podcast. And because of the tumultuous nature of what's taking place around us, the very adversarial energy that we see, unfortunately, certain aspects of this, I'm just not able to say here publicly on the podcast. But those who are at the center, of course, we go deep into these types of conversations. So what to look out for actually starting in the last really month. Okay. So you mean starting, because some of you may ask, so be thinking, you mean starting even now or even beforehand? Yes, because as this celestial body approaches, there are changes that are and have been taking place. Have you noticed how people are acting so erratic? Now, this erraticism is happening because people are stressed out, and those, very in our face reasons, but there is something else going on and has been going on for quite some time. Here at the center, we've been, at the center, I'm saying here at the center, I'm always at the center, even spiritually, right? But at the center, we've been talking about just our observations, very specific observations in our reality for a few months now. And so anyhow, so two moons, during this time, we know that the moon itself affects tides, okay, so water. It also affects the physical water, right? We see at the beaches and everything else in the oceans, but also it affects the waters within us. The waters within us are typically looked at as our subconscious. We know that it affects people to a certain degree because when it's a full moon, more accidents happen. Some people become very aggressive. Okay, so more violence happens. We know that women's cycles are tied to the cycle of the moon, at least for the most part. Okay, not all women are, but most women are. We know that during that time, women could be, it's been men and women, but especially women, because they're affected more by the lunar cycles, that they become at times very emotional around those times. Both men and women both become, at times, those who are affected by these celestial bodies become very erratic. Now, many of you have heard me talk about even 15 years ago on podcasts that one should be above the latent effects of celestial bodies, ideally. Okay. If one is in tune with themselves and has been powering up themselves just because there's a new celestial body in the sky, or just because a planet may go retrograde, or just because a planet even may change color, it should not all of a sudden change one's personality to something else. It should not be almost as if that's a computer system, like we're in the Matrix, and when it changes like that, uh, people just automatically change, like there are signals being sent to them, which gives evidence to the simulation theory, or that this is a matrix. And some would say, well, this is, life, people come from different perspectives, spirituality and religious perspectives in this philosophical conversation that we're having specifically at this moment concerning life. But uh, even being here, going through life, does not denote that it can't also be a place of holding, which some religious and spiritual systems hint to. That's a place of holding. Some put it in a more positive light, some put it in a more negative light. But it's very interesting activities happening here. And so because the emotional states will be heightened in the various ways that I just mentioned, for those who especially who are not affected by celestial bodies like that, who are very aware and awakened, shout out to the adepts across the world, that people will be noticing a lot more of that kind of behavior. What's very interesting about this as well, and it's a not so good thing, is about this election cycle. This election cycle has a very dualistic personality to it. I'm talking about both on both sides, Kamala Harris and Donald Trump. Many of you know that every year, in the beginning of the year, Dr. Blair did it for many years. I've been doing it since I've been running the center. Is that we use our internal gifts to give a theme, that's THEME, and other details about the year that we are in. So, for example, in the beginning of 2024, there was a podcast that I put out. You should see it on the screen now. In that podcast, it said that this is the year of the Janus. Usually, the title is just that, right? It's just the year of this or the year of that, or it may be, or watch out for this year. You get what I'm saying? But it had two parts to it. So this is the year of the Janus. This is the year of the awakened human. So why is it two things like that? Why can't it be one or another? Because I was prefacing you with the dualistic nature of the year. And you all most definitely should check out that video. You can see how accurate we can be here at the center. I put it also the link in the description below. But in that, and when you watch that, you'll see the dualistic nature. And has it not been dualistic? And it actually is very interesting that we having two moons in the sky, so even that's a dualistic aspect as well. And man, it's getting deep out here, right? And so in this election cycle, we know people, there's a lot of vitriol or a lot of energy. It's very aggressive, agitating energy that is amongst us. Okay, and this agitating, aggressive energy, because of the heightened emotions by these two celestial bodies that will be around us, will increase that energy dramatically. The dark Jedi, which could also be looked at as evil beings, which could also be looked at as demons, or those who are inhabited by demons, and so on and so forth, those beings are most definitely going to be taking advantage of this activity. Those people who find themselves to be very egotistical, for example, again, ego is needed in some regards, but it has to be tempered, okay, and it has to be controlled. Because if a person's ego is not tempered or controlled, shout out to everyone who has read Book One Lessons and outwardly projected the ego. Shout out to all of you all. You know what I'm talking about. You know how deep it goes. But for those people who have not done that, or who have a difficulty controlling their ego, they're going to find themselves, again, it heightens all of these things, right? These things are heightened during the full moon anyway. It's going to heighten it to the extreme, okay? And these people are going to be not good people to be around. Just sometimes, just from them just being there, their nature is going to be so again, dualistic in nature, right? So like bipolarish, so back and forth, so aggressively ego. I need what I need. Give me what I want, kind of thing. Because again, many of them have these narcissistic personality traits as well. That I would be very, I would just be cautious, right, of your environment and those people that you may get. You may be good friends with them, they may be family, everything else, but you know their nature. And I would just be watchful during the times. Okay. Also, during this year, we've seen the media itself has increased their dualistic nature, right? Of course, telling us one thing which may be truth, but in the reality, we don't see it. So we see falsehoods in reality, or more so than anything else, they tell us falsehoods, and in the reality, we actually see truth, right? And that contradicts that. That's going to be increased to the extreme as well, since they are a reflection of again, the media is like a reflection of the subconscious, okay? And they're dictating to the subconscious certain thought forms, which people then bring in within themselves and start to act out in some form or fashion, okay? So again, we're talking about the amplification of the waters within, which is the subconscious, the underlying flow of what runs our reality, but where or when we are, in many cases, unable to perceive. All right. So these undercurrents obviously are happening all around us all the time, you know. And of course, it's like when you're a child, there's certain things that you just don't notice at all that are happening all around us that maybe your parents notice, right? And like, hey, stop doing that. And you're like, you know, it came out of left field because you were doing something that you didn't think anyone noticed as a child, but it was completely obvious to the adults, right? And in many cases, even before you even got down that road, they already pre-stopped you before you even got there, right? That's how it can be for some people. Some people are very aware to see things in that way, but nevertheless, there are undercurrents on all levels happening that many of us, even those who may could be considered adepts or gurus or maybe, that they also may miss because this thing goes deep, right? And so just be aware of that. So there is a religious book. It's considered not official canon, like for example the Book of Enoch, but there's a book called the Book of Esther, right? In the Book of Esther, it talks about these dragons, right? And one dragon is the red dragon, one dragon is the white dragon. And in the times that we're in right now, we are supposedly under the rule of the red dragon, right? The red dragon has apostles as well, okay? It has its religious and holy men and women, all right? That it puts up to be above and to display up to the world who give out their doctrines. It's pretty much it depends if well, let me before I even go there, I'm sorry y'all. So it's a very we see that the ego is run amok. Those who have ego, non-tempered ego, right, not control ego, but just ego, this narcissist behavior and so on and so forth. The reality kind of promotes that kind of behavior, right? We see it all around us, we see it all on social media, etc. Well, that's all red dragon antics, okay? uh, the red dragon, the wars and how wars, that it doesn't mean wars won't happen, but how wars are brought about and so on and so forth. Again, this is all red dragon behavior. Well, in the Book of Esther, it talks about how at the end of pretty much at the end of an age, right? I am ad-libbing here or summarizing, but at the end of an age, how there will be a battle between a red dragon and white dragon. Now, the white dragon overall is opposite of that. The white dragon is typically looked at as more peaceful times, right? But that battle that happens between these two power structures, is devastating. Okay, it's devastating. And the red dragon and its apostles and all of its men and women who pledge allegiance to that kind of divisive energy structure, even by their ego, even by their narcissism and so on and so forth, they most definitely are highly agitated and going to be highly aggressive against those of the white dragon who want more of an orderly world, who want more. And order doesn't mean, we're not talking about totalitarian behavior, because order to the extreme is totalitarianism, right? So we're not talking about that. And again, that battle is going to be overall devastating to the people of the world itself on both sides. But in the end, as the book of Esther speaks on, the white dragon will be triumphant. And then as we then proceed further into the new age, okay? And the white dragon also has its apostles. It also has its men and women who are there, who are the benefactors, who promote the doctrines of that age. Okay, so it's very, very interesting, the world we are in and where we are going. So again, this goes much deeper, and I'm just picking what to really speak on that most can resonate with. And this is for you to do more research on, right? So what does this mean? What can people who are listening to my voice, who are not even into metaphysics, who don't care maybe even about it at all, who just want to live a balanced life and kind of just enjoy themselves and relax, what overall can you do? You can meditate. All right. Meditate at least 5 minutes a day, bare minimum. You don't have to say weird mantras that you have no idea what it means. You don't have to do those things. Okay. Let's keep it simple. All right. Just eyes closed, just rhythmic breathing, where you're just breathing in and then breathing out. Now you could go a little bit more and hold it for a moment before you breathe out, but just rhythmic breathing, breathing in, breathing out at the same pace. Okay. Not fast, very relaxed. Okay. Let's relax, man. People are, so anyhow, so meditation, one could, this day when you hear my voice, some know they need to, for example, they may need to lose weight, but they have not took that first step to do that. Others have been doing that, but they could go further. They know they could push themselves a little bit further. This is the time to do that. So if you, whatever it may be that truly benefits you and allows you to be more balanced, that you have not took your first step toward, this is the time for you to take that first step, right? The best time to start was, yesterday or years ago. The second best time to start is right now. All right. For those who are already making progress, go harder, make more progress, make faster progress. Okay. Of course, as I mentioned in the beginning of this podcast here, that I highly suggest that the meta center is outside the matrix, and so I suggest that you make an appointment, even just if you want to make an appointment, you can call to make appointments. You don't have to do it online. You can call ahead of time. I suggest you do call ahead or make that appointment online to come in and even just to sit around for some time, right? To step outside of the matrix for a moment, right? And relax. And maybe have some tea, maybe even have a conversation with some of the people who may be there, who come for the same reasons.